Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. And in this one, I'd like to take another look at Mega Camerupt. So I did look at Mega Camerupt fairly recently on the channel, but that was with Volcanion and Magmortar. And to be honest, if you haven't watched that video, basically just my thoughts were that I thought the build was just a bit clunky and just took a bit too much work, to get like 3 stage 1s in play to do somewhat mediocre damage with Mega Camerupt. So I felt like there has to be better builds out there for Mega Camerupt, has to be other ways of playing it. Unfortunately, one build that really caught my eye was Volcanion. So basically, all the Volcanion is trying to do is use the ability Scalding Steam. So when it's in the active spot, you can inflict the burn special condition, and then you can free retreat Volcanion with Latias, and then promote Mega Camerupt and do Roasting Heat for the full 240. So that's basically the game plan in a nutshell. And then we have like extra switches in the deck just to, bounce between Mega Camerupt back to Volcanion if we absolutely need to, basically. So yeah, that's like the game plan in a nutshell. There's really not much else to it. We are also because we have way more deck space now that we're not running Magmortar and Volcanion, it does mean you can play things like Wally's Compassion as well, which is a really good card in this deck. So you can fully heal your Mega Camerupt and retrieve the energy back to your hand as well, which is fantastic because it just means that you really don't want your opponent to take 2-hit kills on Mega Camerupt. You really want to force them to take like a 1-hit KO, and if they can't do that, well then you just Wally's Compassion and heal all the way. Of course that's not going to happen every single time, but as long as it happens when it's crucial, basically, that's when it's important. So yeah. Also running this Numel. Now there is a few different Numel that you can play. There is one that can actually inflict the burn special condition for a single energy. So that's not a bad one, to be honest. But ultimately, with this particular build, you just want to leave Volcanion in the active spot and in those first 2 turns of the game and hope that Volcanion doesn't get knocked out, really. So I don't necessarily think that the one with Singe is worth it because Volcanion already fulfills that role, basically. So yeah, Corva Family is just a nice backup attack if we ever needed to because we're just kind of relying on nest balls to get the Pokemon out. But yeah, Corva Family is definitely not a bad option. Also playing Fezandipiti just because it's a bit of extra draw power. Again, not a card that you really need to put into play all the time, though, just because you want to make things as awkward for your opponent as possible and, not give them easy prizes. But Fezandipiti is still quite nice just to get a bit of extra draw power, especially if you're burning through a lot of your trainers, which this deck plays a lot of. 42 trainers is a lot. It doesn't really feel like a lot when you're playing the deck. It feels like you have way less than 42, but you do have a lot of trainers in this deck. So yeah, also playing Carmine. So if you go first, you can actually play the Supporter and discard your hand, draw 5, which is really nice. 3 of the Wally's Compassion that we mentioned earlier. 2 Super Rod, actually, which is quite surprising. But then again, we only play 6 Basic Energy, so I guess that kind of makes sense. Also, if you're new to this channel, by the way, this is a list that came out of Japan, which is why I'm talking about it as if I didn't make it, because I didn't. It was someone from Japan that made it. So I'm giving it a go, and then I'll probably tweak it slightly to my liking. But because for example, there's 6 basic Fire Energy in this deck, and I really think Ignition Energy is a really good shout. Ignition Energy just means that Mega Camera can do a Hail Mary attack and basically just Volcanic Meteor for 280, which is really nice. So it just means you can just instantly deal with something like an Enzork without having to get through the burn damage really to KO it, which can be a bit tedious sometimes. So just having a massive 1-hit KO option I think is really quite nice. But then again, it's also a bit difficult to find. So if you're going to make room for Ignition Energy, I would maybe cut down on a Wally and something else, maybe a Rigid Band, and add in a Hilda as well, because the fact that you play Pokégear really lends itself nicely to Hilda, and Hilda will let you find Mega Camerupt, as well as letting you find, your Ignition Energy when you need it. So yeah, Hilda's a really good shout. But yeah, also playing 2 unique stadiums, Pokemon League HQ is fairly unique, I would say. You don't always see this in Standard, but it is quite useful against things like Raging Bolt and Urgopon, so quite a good shout, to be honest. Quite excited to see how this one fares out for me. Also playing 3 Grabber, which, again, I don't think this card is critical to the deck, and it was one of the cards that really stood out to me when I was browsing through the lists, because I was I don't think you necessarily need Grabber. I don't think it's super important. You're not really disrupting enough, you're kind of tanking and healing with Wally's and Hero's Cape, so it is kind of like that, with Rigid Band as well. But at the same time, I don't think this deck is really Crushing Hammer, restraints, that kind of type thing. So I'm not sure if you really need Grabber in this build, to be honest. It's fun, it's disruptive, but I don't think it's super necessary. So what I might do actually is remove a Grabber maybe remove a Wally's and then add in a Hilda and an Ignition Energy, so I can just do the 280 like once per game at least. So it'll just give the deck a bit more oomph, I think, because Grabber's like not super critical. But yeah, speaking of it, Rigid Band is quite cool. Lets you take 30 less damage from attacks, and you already got 340 HP. So Rigid Band's quite nice. But this is a deck that's not playing Arvin, so you don't really have a guaranteed way of finding this. You just have to like find it naturally. Or if your opponent has a town store in play, then you can track it down quite easily. But yeah, that's the thing about the ace spec of this deck as well. Like you can't really find it that easily. You just have to like hope you draw into it, which doesn't always feel great to be honest. But you do play a lot of draw supporters, like 4 Research, 3 Iono, 3 Carmine, 4 Pokégear. You have plenty of ways of getting to it. It's just it can feel a bit bad sometimes. When you really want it for something. It's also not just Mega Camerupt, although having 440 HP is really nice. You can of course just put it on the Pokemon to give them a bit more protection. Things like Latias only has 210 HP, which is not a lot these days really. So having 310 is actually quite nice. So yeah, you can put on Latias or a Pheasant or even a Volcanion or even a Squawkabilly. If you start the game with Squawkabilly and you really think it's a bit too fragile, then you can put it on there. But yeah, one of the things I like to do though is put it on Numel if I draw it in the early game, just to have 180 HP, so it's not going to get knocked out by things like Solrock and stuff, which yeah, I'm not sure if Mega Lucario will continue to see as much play as it does, especially on the lower tiers of a ladder, but it does seem to be a really easy deck to play and quite a popular one at that right now. So, it's something nice to have, basically. Things like Solrock always going to be a pain. So, yeah, and even accelerating stab. So, yeah, just something worth bearing in mind. But overall, I do think this has been a significantly better experience than the other camera build. It's just a bit of a shame because, this one's definitely not as cheap if you're building this IRL, like 2 Latias, 2 Volcanion, Fezandipiti, and a Squawk. It's a lot of EX cards, which is a bit of a shame. But like overall, I think this is probably the best way to play Camerupt. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how this deck improves over time, and we'll have to see if it gets any more support in the future. But yeah, it's been Ember Power. Let me know what you think about Mega Camerupt down below. And yeah, thank you for watching. I am extremely curious as to what my opponent is playing, but I'm assuming it's some sort of Ogerpon Terror Box, complete with Espeon, because like they have the Teal Mask Ogerpon, which is kind of scary. Like this is probably going to be our biggest threat, really. So yeah, definitely gonna have to be careful with switches and things. But yeah, we'll see what they end up discarding here. Okay, so my opponent discards a Pharange with Vessel. Not really sure what energy they need here, except maybe just a Psychic. And then I'm assuming they want to maybe use Energy Switch, the Teal Mask Ogerpon. And then that would let them attack with Psych Out. I'm assuming that's what they want to go for at least. But yeah, I'm very curious as to what their like main game plan is, because it seems to be built around Energy Switch to these guys. But then again, I'm not sure why Manectric is in the deck. Like Mega Manectric, that seems really interesting, but because this kind of thing makes sense, right, with Ogerpon, but not really sure about like Espeon and Mega Manectric, so we'll have to find out. My opponent might just be cooking, like they might just be doing something interesting out here, but we'll see. Okay, so my opponent is going for the Sob play. 40 damage, I can't retreat. I do have 2 switches in hand though. So before we do anything else, we may as well just use Burn. Although I guess if the only thing I can do off here is Boss, I can't believe I actually predicted that. I was going to say if the only thing I can do here is Boss, then that was a waste of ability. Yeah, I think I will just have to Boss then. I mean, I could call for Family. Yeah, I don't hate that idea. But yeah, I think I should just Boss anyway. Wait, what tree cost do you have? Yeah, let's just bring up this. Seems fine. I will attach a Pharange to Volcanion. And I'll just pass over. So yeah, what I really should have done there was Pokégear first in case Boss was literally my only play. But like usually, you know, you hit a supporter, right, that you can use like Iono, Lily, or Research. But yeah, not today. We could have also used Call for Family, but I didn't really want to leave Precious Numel in the active spot. But if I'd done that, then maybe I could have gotten like Fez and, you know, draw out of this situation a bit quicker. But we'll see. I'm very curious to see what my opponent does. Get Lightning Energy on this guy. Okay. Retreat it. Fair dues. I don't think I really could have pulled up anything else in that situation. Like Espeon, I guess, but it's another 40 damage. It's not super scary just yet. We do get another Pokégear, so we're going to Pokégear before we use the ability this time. Really? Right, Research. I don't really want to lose these resources, though. I'm thinking I might actually put the second energy on Volcanion, just so we can threaten a Scorching Cyclone at some point. But yeah, I will Scalding Steam. Right, we better hit Mega Camerupt off this. I'm going to be so mad if we don't, rather. Yeah, then we Research. We do have 2 more switches, which we are about to nearly discard. That's scary. Carmine Research, I guess, because we're going to have to discard this hand anyway at some point. Get this guy. So we can finally take some prizes, which is good. I don't know if I need a Nest Ball or not. Depends what they attack next turn, because they might go for like the boss KO on Volcanion. But I guess we can like respond to that when we need to. So yeah, we'll just Roasting Heat. Easy 2 prizes. Gets rid of Wellspring, which is kind of important. Confusion is also a bit of a pain from Espeon, so we might have a problem there, but we'll see. So ideally, I would like my opponent to KO Mega Camerupt, Volcanion, and then like another Mega Camerupt, ideally. Like that's what we'd like them to do. Okay, so it looks like they're going for the energy switch play with the Psych out. Although, no, I keep getting Espeon EX confused with Espeon GX. This thing doesn't confuse me, it just discards a random card. Okay, if they get rid of like a Switch or a Research, that would kind of suck. We do have Grabber though, so we might be able to disrupt them that way. But yeah, if they ever like revive the Sobble, then that's going to be really annoying. So we only have 1 more Switch in deck after this one, which is frustrating. All right, Terra Orb gets discarded. Not useful, really. I'm surprised they're not running like Ultra Balls and things. All right, bunch more energy. Darken Grass. I guess Teal Mask is a bit of a problem. They might also want to just Amethaze at some point and get rid of Camerupt that way, which is also fair. But they just pass. That's crazy. Okay, so we're about to demonstrate the power of Magcargo here. Or Camerupt, I should say, not Magcargo. Yeah, so we can literally just switch into Volcanion. See, I feel like this just feels so much better than Volcarona, because like Volcarona is so much work to set up. I will say though, we do have like a finite number of switching cards, so like we're not going to be able to do this constantly. But we can still do it for now. I'm going to grab it here, just to see what they've got on hand. Maybe they are just playing like a 20 energy deck. Like I kind of thought they were cooking here, but now I'm a bit skeptical, you know. Roasting Heat, 240. Yep. Knock that out. So my opponent hasn't taken any prizes yet. So we're in a very good spot right now. We can evolve the other Numel, which is great. We do also have Wally's Compassion in the deck. I can't remember if I'm running 1 or 2 copies of the Triple E Energy. I think you should always run Triple E, like no matter what with Mega Camerupt. And maybe some Hilda, actually. Yeah, I think like 2 Hilda maybe is necessary. It's just what to cut for them, really, because there's like not a lot of space. And you can't play less Volcanion or Latias. Like, you have to play 2 of each, really. I mean, this is a okay attacker, but, like, it walls out Volcanion, at least. But yeah, right now we can just roasting heat poke them at this point. Because I don't think we'll see the 4th switch next turn, so... We might want to save Super Rod. I don't feel like there's much to save, though. That's the thing. Because we have, like, multiple copies of everything. We're not playing down Squawk, no matter what, anyway. Research is likely. Counter Capture, definitely not. Nest Ball, maybe. Could Nest Ball check the deck? Yeah, just a pass. Thing is, I don't even know what I would research for. Like, what am I looking for, you know? Like, boss, I guess. The other switch. I suppose switch does win us the game. Yeah, switch does win us the game, to be fair. Can probably just... Yeah, we can probably just research. Dump the hand. No switch. Bit of a shame. We do get League HQ, though, which is kind of useful. So all their attacks cost a bit more. So yeah, we can just keep poking this for now. I think it might be game over, but like, I don't want to jinx it just yet. We'll just have to see what they do, really. But yeah, Wally's Compassion would be really good if they start like actually doing damage. Like if they'd done damage last turn, then we would take another hit next turn, and then like our next turn we could Wally's Compassion, but that's not necessary. Also, I really like that Wally's Compassion puts the energy back into your hand and doesn't just discard it. So you can just reattach it for roasting heat, which is great. But like the argument against Wally's and why you should play Turo sometimes, especially with Volcanion, is you could Turo the Mega Camerupt, pick it up, promote Volcanion, use the ability, and then like just, you know, attack with another Camerupt. So like I'm thinking maybe Turo scenario might just be better than Wally's. Maybe just more switching outs. Like I could just play Surfer though, to be fair. Like Surfer's not a bad supporter. That's a lot of energy. Are you really trying to want to kill my Mega Camerupt with this? Fair dues. I mean, more power to you, but like... I suppose I shouldn't have like done what I did with Volcanion. But like, if we literally get a switch, which we don't currently, to be fair. I can knock out Electrike this turn. Not necessary though, I don't feel like. I still don't think they're doing nearly enough damage, though. Right, 160. So 170, 180, 190, 200, 210, 220, 230, 240. Yeah. So if they don't knock me out this turn, I can just boss this guy. Which is fine. But we should also just be fine because, like, even if they want to kill Mega Camerupt this turn, we literally have Volcanion to promote, and then we can just bench Latias, or not bench Latias, sorry, bench Fezand, draw 3, or like Iono and then draw 3. So like we should be absolutely fine. Charon, okay, yeah, I don't think they were cooking here. It's an interesting list though. Like it is interesting. It's a lot more interesting than the decks I used to play, like when I was starting out in the game. Charon's just like not very good though. Yeah, 7 energy. I don't know what 7 lots of 30 are. Plus 2 more. Plus 30 base. Plus 30 from Mega Camerupt. So they are doing a lot of damage. I just don't think they're doing nearly enough with a Hero's Cape attached. Like maybe if they have Tool Scrapper they can get there. But yeah, they have to retreat this no matter what. But we still just win with boss, so... Yeah, I think it's that phase of the game where you're kind of just waiting for it to end, but... Interesting. But I definitely think this build has been, so far, just a lot stronger than the Volcarona Magmortar build. I think Magmortar is just a pipe dream. Volcarona is, like, decent, but if you don't get, like, the Precious Trolley start, then it feels really bad sometimes. And you have to have loads of energy in the deck as well. Like, you have to play higher counts of energy. just to use Volcarona. So yeah, so understandably they retreat, which is fine. Realistically, we might have been a bit stuck if they'd like bossed this and then like stalled with it, but just quickly see what was in their hand in the end. Another boss. Yeah, they probably should have gone for the boss play, to be honest. Like, they probably should have just bossed this. But yeah, we'll just boss. Bit of a shame that Ogapon didn't get a chance to shine, but yeah, I really thought they would just start using Energy Switch and like really pop off, but never did.